Stefany Valentia to know more about healthy state of mind. Hi, good morning, Stefany.
Good morning.
Happy
Good morning,
World,
Carol and Paul.
Happy World Mental Health Day for us today. Hopefully we're
Happy World
happy,
Mental
we're
Health Day.
grounded, and we're positive today. So, of course, Stefany, we want to go straight to our discussion right now. If we're talking about mental health or unstable mental health or problems, what comes to play to the factors to it?
Okay, there is no single factor that affect mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And it can range from lots of things, like the one that we know is trauma or past abuse, or even hardships in the past, our environment, and lots of things. But to understand more about it, we have to understand the concept of nature and nurture. So part of our mental health is affected by our nature, which is genetic or biological.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part is affected by the nurture. Nurture means our environment, how we are raised, how we face hardships in life, and that all influence our mental health.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of nature and nurture. I always think it's a combination of the two, no matter how much bigger one is than the other, but it always takes both to develop.
It's always
who
been
we
your
are.
motto. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So Caroline mentioned a few of the things that can affect our mental health, significant life events, our personality and behavior, and incidences such as domestic violence or childhood trauma or child abuse or long-term stress. But what about daily stressors from things that we may not be too aware of, such as kids who go to school or those of us that go to work? How can that affect our mental health?
Traffic.
Yeah, traffic, true.
Yeah. Okay, so before we talk about that, we have to understand that mental health is a spectrum. So it ranges from mentally healthy to mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't just stay in the end of the spectrum, but we can be anywhere within the range of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So it is true that daily stresses such as traffic jam, going to school, or other simple things can make us feel stressed out. So we move from the healthy side to the middle side of the mental health spectrum.
Now,
But the thing that we have to know, it is actually very normal.
yes. And
We cannot be healthy all the time.
yeah, so it's good. Of course, we want to be positive every time. We want to be happy all the time. But when you have disappointments or you're discouraged on that one day, let's say, it doesn't mean that you're just being human, right? And it's so good that right now, Stefany and also Paul, that we're living in this era when we're saying that, oh, I'm feeling not good or something is wrong with me, I'm depressed. We're very open to it as opposed to maybe years or generations before, right? So, but still there are some people, including myself sometimes, I would be in denial or oblivious that I do have mental health issues. So what are the signs you would say, especially you as a professional in this, that we should be aware of, the signs that we should be aware of that we do have some mental health issues, and to what factor until we have to seek to a professional for help?
Okay, there are 4D to know that if we have a mental health issues or problem. The first one is distress. We know that the term stress, but stress is very normal. In fact, a moderate amount of stress is needed in our daily life. However, when the stress goes way above our limit to handle and we start to feel breaking down, that's what we call distress. That's the first D. The second D is dysfunction. Dysfunction is when we cannot perform our daily activities as how it is supposed to be, such as eating, sleeping, working, and socializing. So basically, we are not functioning well. And the third D is deviance. Deviance refers to the behavior, thoughts, and emotion that are unusual or unacceptable by the culture and social norms. For example, if we're talking about hurting people in a calm but serious way, it is something that is not acceptable. And the last D is danger. And as it is, danger refers to dangerous and violent behavior to self and to others, such as reckless driving, impulsive behavior, or self-harming behavior. So sometimes people with mental health issues might not realize or might deny that they have issues, but other people can see it. because it also impacts other person's behavior.
Oh, so there's actually a fifth D. Denial could be another one
Yeah.
as well. So does somebody have to exhibit just one of these signs in order for them to kind of have to start identifying that they may possibly have mental health issues? Or is there also one sign that is more serious than the other? Like, I would assume if somebody was doing dangerous things, that is much more of a red flag than any of the others.
Well, they are all are the same, but the easiest way is to look at your daily functioning, because it is something that we do every day. Like the most three important thing are eating, sleeping, and our productivity.
Okay. So if any of that starts to show signs of something being out of whack, then that's definitely a red flag. So what happens then when we don't deal with this?
Yeah, of course, it can lead to more severe mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, or developing trauma and other mental disorders.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing a lot of that, and also we've been reporting that a lot of news from Southeast Asia and also world news, and also here in Indonesia. Now, again, Stefany, you know, people are always saying that, okay, when they felt that they're not okay and they seek for help and whatnot, they go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But, you know, there are some people that is very reluctant to say to go to a professional because of, let's say, is because you have to pay, you know,
It does
some
sound
expenses.
expensive. It does,
right?
People have that assumption.
So, yeah, how do you kind of cut off that assumption, by the way, Stefany, for, you know, for people to actually, this is one of the best way to go?
Okay. Actually, right now, clinical psychology services are actually available in public health center or puskesmas and regional public hospital or rumah sakit umum daerah. And they are provided with very affordable cost. You can also search for the closest clinical psychologist around you through ipk.id, ipk.id.
Okay.
It is the database provided by Indonesian Clinical Psychologist Association or Ikatan Psikolog Klinis Indonesia. We are very grateful with the technology advances that lots of things are easier to access, including online counseling.
That is great news.
That deleted that assumption, you know, especially.
Well, I think it's because we, you know, now, back in the day, we didn't deal with our mental issues the way we do now. And I think if that that way of thinking has changed, then I think we need to change the way of thinking about, for example, costs, and for example, availability.
Right.
Because again, I have a friend that actually sees his counselor online. Like, he's never met the person.
Right.
He just keeps on going online with them. It started because of the pandemic, and it's continued to this day.
And it's always having that stigma, especially from the public, you know, years before, right? If you go to a professional, it means that, oh, are you that nuts? Are you that crazy?
Yeah.
How can you cannot cope yourself?
Yes.
Why can't you find a solution for yourself? This is your own kind of, you know, matters and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's not the problem. Sometimes people do need the help.
Right, and I bet you don't even lie down on the couch anymore when you talk to your psychologist. So let's talk about prevention, because we do know for any illness, prevention is key, and early detection, and mental health issues is no exception. Could you give us some tips as to how we can prevent any sort of mental health problems on our own end?
Okay, the most important and the most basic thing to do is self-care. Maybe we heard that term a lot.
Yes.
Self-care is the act of maintaining our physical and mental health. And it is done through basic things such as get enough sleep, maintain a healthy exercise and healthy diet, and stay connected to other people. We don't have to be like very outgoing or very cheerful, but small and deep connection with family or close friends can count too.
Yeah, and that's, you know, on point right there. And of course, to maintain our mental health, Stefany, because you were saying that, you know, mental health is a wide spectrum, right? You know, sometimes you could be in the positive end, and sometimes you're in the negative end, but that is very human. And how can we maintain, at least to balance it right in the middle? Like, of course, when you're not too happy, you can lift up yourself, but then when you're low, you can lift up yourself, but when you're too high, you have to always remember that life is like a, you know, like a rolling ball, like a roller coaster. It goes up and down, so you have to be ready for your low days also. How do we maintain our mental health for that?
The first thing you have to do is the self-awareness. If you're not aware that there is something is not right, you cannot fix it, right?
Right.
So after you're aware, then start do the self-care. and you can also talk to professionals like psychologists to help you with dealing the hardships in your life.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
self-care, there's a lot. You can go to professional, you can do journaling, you can go traveling by yourself and whatnot, you know, getting to know to yourself back again.
So, lastly, Stefany, what are your hopes on this year's Mental Day? You heard what the theme is. I'm sure you're aware of it already. So what would you wish for on World Mental Health Day 2022?
Yeah, as this year's World Mental Health Day theme, make mental health and well-being for all global priority, I hope that people can start to prioritize their mental health and well-being. Because mental health is for everyone, not just for the rich, but it's for everyone.
And you know, mental health is just not like, oh, it's spur of the moment. We're talking about mental health right now.
It's not
you
like
know?
a trend.
Exactly.
Especially South Jakarta, because there's all these terms like
Yes.
self-care or healing. But we find that sometimes, I know you've noticed it too, people misuse a lot of these terms.
Correct.
And they take it lightly. Like, you know,
Yes.
healing is not like going on a staycation in a
Yes.
hotel. Healing is actually healing
Yeah.
yourself. What would you say, Stefany, to those that, you know, nowadays you can just kind of search everything.
Everything,
And then you think
yeah.
that, I am diagnosed as, I think I diagnosed myself as bipolar. I think I'm bipolar.
Yes.
Like you hear a lot of that going on lately, like self-diagnosis. And you as a professional must see this all the time as well. What do you have to say to that?
Please don't self-diagnose because it can lead to more severe problems such as, for example, if you believe yourself that you have a bipolar, which might not be true, then you might do what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. So you do and you act as the symptoms.
Oh, wow.
So it might make you develop the real disorder.
Oh my goodness.
And it also make the professional harder to diagnose the right diagnosis.
Yeah.
So please be aware. That's good that if you have self-awareness about your condition, but no need to diagnose yourself.
Okay,
Yeah.
two separate things.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of now, you can just, you know, internet is everything, right? You can just
Put in the
self-assess.
exactly. Put in the symptoms.
You self-assess yourself, like, oh, my right brain is much more powerful than my left brain and whatnot. Okay, that's good, right? Like you said, that's self-awareness. But if it's more dire of the situation, then you seek a professional to help.
Definitely. I mean, just because you have a fever doesn't mean you have COVID. Or
Correct.
maybe you do. But in any case, thank you so much, Stefany, for joining us this morning and for commemorating World Mental Health Day with us here on the C Morning Show.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Stefany.
you for having me.
Stay happy.